What's up, guys? This is Corey with the Dirt City Gym. Today I'm back with y'all. We are doing a Pokemon Sun and Moon set review. So yeah, we're just gonna be looking at all the new cards coming out for Pokemon Sun and Moon. Brought to you courtesy of Pokebeach. Go check them out. They got all the leaks and such. So anyway, we will get into it. Just as a preface, I'm super excited for Pokemon Sun and Moon. A lot of cool stuff in here, so hopefully it can pan out. Alright, so first up we've got Caterpie. Nothing exciting here, it's a Caterpie. Metapod, just a Metapod. Butterfree. Nothing to cry home about. Same thing with Paris. Parasect. Okay, now we're getting the juicy. Alright, so first up we've got Boonsweet. I don't know how you say that. Stage 1, a basic, 60 HP, basic step, right? Then it's evolution, Steenie. I don't know how you actually say that. But, stage 1, 90 HP. Nothing relevant in far of attacks or anything like that. But then we have, it's evolution. I think Serena is the name we're going with. That's what everyone seems to think it is, so. It's a stage 2. 140 HP, so not amazing, but you gotta remember we're dealing with grass Pokemon. So we have access to Force the Giant Plant, so we can go from a basic to a stage 3 on turn 1 and it not matter. But it's got this nifty ability here, Queenly Majesty. Once during your turn, before you attack, you may play this card from your hand, or when you play from this card from your hand to evolve one of your Pokemon, you may look at your opponent's hand and discard one card. Excuse me. It's pretty cool stuff. Some hand disruption. Pretty nice. You're really only going to use this for its ability. Its attack is not fantastic. A grass and 2 colorless. Chop Kick. That's kind of a cute name. 80 damage, heal 20 damage from this Pokemon, and remove all special conditions. So again, pretty expensive, lackluster, but it's got a cool ability. How much will it be used? I don't know, but it could be annoying, so something to keep in mind of. Moving on, Growlithe, nothing fantastic here. Arcanine, largely nothing over the moon, but no pun intended. But we will look at this first attack because it inflicts burn. So burn is old status element that's coming back to TCG. And so now how it works is it's similar to poison, where you're going to take 20 damage in between every turn. That's a given that you'll take the damage, but then you will, between turns, flip coin, roll dice. Everyone rolls the dice. But if you get heads, you remove burn. If tails, you keep the burn. So it's kind of a mix between burn and sleep. So it's pretty cool. It's something to pay attention to. And then it's also got this other attack here that I just noticed. A 3 fire and a colorless. It is 190 damage. Talk about the power creep, yeah? And you discard 3 fire energy attached to this Pokemon. So pretty cool. I'm not going to be using it. Torkoal. Not a lot going with Torkoal. It's got the same burn thing. There's not a lot going with fire Pokemon in this set. I mean, fire Pokemon got such a huge buff in Steam Siege with the Volcanion, so. Moving on, we've got Psyduck. Pretty basic Psyduck. But then we got Golduck here, which Golduck is actually a little interesting. So 90 HP. First attack Scratch for colors, 20 damage. Whatever, ignore that. But its second attack here, and Double Jet. For a water, it does 60 times damage, and you discard up to 2 water energy cards from your hand, and this attack does 60 damage times the number of cards discarded. So for 1 energy, you're doing 120 damage pretty quickly. Also worth noting, it has free retreat, which is pretty cool. You get that little combination with Starmie from Eeveeloutions. Not too bad. Shelter and Cloyster. Not a lot to talk about there. Then we get our first money card. Lapras. We got a little picture. But, so Lapras is a GX. So GXs are effectively taking over for EXs from past sets. GXs still give up 2 prizes, so something to keep in mind, but a lot of GXs are evolutions, as opposed to just being basics. And they're not evolutions as in megas where it ends your turn, it's just like a standard evolution. Lapras here is one of just a handful of GXs that are actually basics. So for starters, it's got 190 HP, which for a basic is pretty big. We're talking, that's like Zygarde, basic big territory. So with a Fighting Fury belt, it's 230. It's kind of a problem to deal with, especially early. First attack for 1 water, collect, draw 3 cards. It's not horrible. Second attack for 3 water, Blizzard Burn, does 160 damage, and then this Pokemon can't attack during your next turn. So kind of like Volcanion in that aspect. But since we're dealing with water Pokemon, we have access to things like Manaphy for free retreat and all sorts of stuff. So it's not a bad attack for 3 damage, or 3 energy, doing 160 damage. 170 with a belt. That's knocking out most things. And then finally we have the GX attacks. So for those of you who don't know, how a GX attacks work is limited to 1 GX attack per game. That's not just like 1 GX attack per Pokemon. That's just 1 GX attack in general. So it's similar to an A-Spec in that aspect, except you could recycle A-Specs. GX attacks, you're limited to just the 1. A lot of them, they're very situational. They're kind of like finisher or fatalities for Mortal Kombat reference. But, so Lapras here's got Ice Beam GX, which is not overly fantastic. For 2 water and a colorless, does 100 damage, and then your opponent's active Pokemon is now paralyzed. So again, not a great GX attack, but it's on one of our basics, so mainly you're going to be using Ice Beam, or Blizzard Burn off Lapras. But other than that, it's pretty good. So moving on, Wishy-Washy. Oh, Wishy-Washy. You can tell they have something in mind. Moving forward, maybe we'll get it in the next set or something, or a promo. Because this is just the basic Wishy-Washy, not the schooling form. It's got 30 HP, so pretty pathetic. And it's got the ability Cowardice. You can use this ability once during your turn, excluding your first turn, or the turn this Pokemon came into play. Discard all cards attached to this Pokemon and return this Pokemon to your hand. It's pretty garbage, initially, is what it sounds like. I'm hoping they give us something to work with it, with the Wishy-Washy. Moving forward, you'd have to imagine it'd be something similar to a break, though we're not doing breaks anymore. So, we'll see how that goes. That's Wishy-Washy. Next up is Dupiter. Don't quite know how you say some of these names, so forgive me. Which evolves a Rockwoodid, which is actually pretty good. Jeez Louise. 100 HP for stage 1, which is kind of low, but it's got the ability Blister. You prevent all damage from attacks done to this Pokemon by your opponent's fire Pokemon, which is pretty good. So it's basically a water wall, a soft Volcanion counter, if you were. There's a lot of options to like rejuvenize the water box type deck. So this is definitely one of those that could potentially go in that deck like that. Its attack is not great. For a water and 2 colorless, it does 70 damage. If you're mainly going to be attacking into fire Pokemon with this anyway, so you get weakness, so 140 for 3, but still not horrible. Next up, we've got Pukamuku. I think that's how you say it, Pukamuku, something like that. This thing, it's interesting. 60 HP, basic. It's got the ability Innards Out. If this Pokemon is your active Pokemon and is knocked out by an attack from your opponent's Pokemon, place 6 damage counters on the attacking Pokemon. So it's a bursting balloon that you can attach a bursting balloon to. So, I mean, it's one of those, like, throw out Pukamugu, put a bursting balloon on it, and just be like, come at me, bro. You've got a wall little there that they want to take that 120 damage. Or they can just Lysander around it, or escape rope, or any kind of combination of that, but it's kind of interesting. So next up, we've got Zubat. It's kind of cool little attack. Astonish. For a Psychic, choose a random card from your opponent's hand. Your opponent reveals that card and shuffles it into his or her deck. So this is pretty cool. Kind of annoying. Golbat. No reason to use this Golbat. The Golbat we have is a bazillion times better than Crobat. It's okay. So you got triple poison. Your opponent's active poison or Pokemon is now poisoned. Put three damage counters on it instead of one in between turns, which is pretty cool. And then surprise attack for 3 colorless. It does 60 damage. If this Pokemon was on your bench and became active during your turn, it does an additional 60. So it's kind of cool. It has a free retreat, so that's also pretty cool. Also means we can use that Crobat Break. Yeah. But not really, because it's not great. But whatever. Moving along. Next up, we've got Espeon GX. This one's actually really good. So, 200 HP. Pretty good for stage 1. First attack, Psybeam for Psychic. Does 30 damage. And the defending Pokemon is now confused, which could be annoying. And then its second attack is Psychic. For a Psychic and 2 colorless, it does 60 plus damage. And this attack does 30 more damage for each Energia card attached to your opponent's active Pokemon. So that can add up pretty quickly. It's kind of like damage change at that aspect. Or the Baby Mewtwo, actually, more effectively. And then its GX attack, which is pretty good. For a Psychic and 2 colorless, it's Division GX. Place 10 damage counters on your opponent's Pokemon in any way you like. So, for 3 energy, you just put 100 damage out on the field however you want. You can spread it out, 2 here, 3 there, 2 there, however you want to do it. You get 10 damage counters to play with, which is really, really cool. Really cool way to kind of close out a game. So yeah. Espeon's pretty good. Moving on, Marini. It's kind of whatever. Toxapeck, though, is kind of cool. I don't know how useful it ever will be, but it's kind of cool. So it's 110 HP, stage 1. It's kind of whatever. But its ability Toxic Spikes, as long as this Pokemon is in play, so it'd just be sitting on your bench. Whenever your opponent's active Pokemon retreats, the new active Pokemon is now poisoned. So you can kind of work that around with other things, deal status ailments and things like that. You know, people want to retreat. I mean, obviously, you got to work around. A lot of the game is escape rope, switch, Olympia, things like that. But if you ever get in a situation where it becomes useful, I mean, encourage them not to retreat is pretty nice. I can see this having a lot more use in like expanded, in like a Seismito deck or something like that. Kind of switch off the Killio shenanigans. Alright, so next up, Cosmog, Nibby. It's whatever. Cosmian, or Cosmone, whatever you call it. Again, it's kind of whatever. It's a stage 1. We'll get more to that later. Makuhita. It's not anything super interesting there. Hariyama, again, nothing overly exciting. Now we get into maybe one of my favorite cards from this set, Passimian, the Spider Monkey. So it's got 110 HP basic, pretty nice, it's fighting type. Its first attack, Fling. For a fighting, this attack does 30 damage to one of your opponent's Pokemon. So it could be on the bench or whatever. But what you really want to use it for is its second attack, Team Play. For 2 colorless, it does 10 plus damage. And this attack does 10 damage plus 30 damage times the number of Passimian on your bench. So, being that it's a basic, and it only costs a double colorless, you can start doing pretty high amounts of damage pretty early. With 1 in the active and 3 on the bench, you're doing 100 damage. With 4 on the bench and like a Mew on the active, you're doing 130 damage, which is pretty cool. Definitely something I want to be testing a lot of. I think it'll be really fun, especially early. You're going to be two-shotting everything, so definitely something to look into. Next up, Alolan Meowth. Nothing overly relevant, except for the fact that its attack is free. Has no energy cost, so it's kind of cool. Then Alolan Persian. Nothing really there. Sandiles, whatever. Krokorok, or whatever is not, whatever. And then Crocodile is actually kind of cool. 150 HP for stage 2, so that's kind of whatever. Its first attack, Accusation, for 2 colorless, does 20 plus damage. And its attack does 20 more damage times the number of cards in your opponent's hand. So that's kind of cool. Unfortunately, we're not really in a situation where people kind of like really load up their hands, but it's a good, okay, an option. Its next attack, Dark Fang, for 2 dark and a colorless, does 120 damage. And then before doing damage, discard all Pokemon tool cards attached to your opponent's active Pokemon. So that could knock out a lot of basic Pokemon that are common, like Fighting Fury Belts and stuff like that. It'll take off the belt and then deal the damage. So that's pretty cool. Alolan Diglett, not a lot going there. Alolan Dugtrio, it's got an okay ability. Tangled Hair, as long as Pokemon is in play. The defending Pokemon's retreat cost is 1 colorless more. So, again, pretty cool stuff there. Nothing revolutionary, but not too bad. Alright, next up, we've got Skarmory, which is stupid broken. Okay, maybe not broken, but it's pretty intense. So a basic 110 HP, pretty cool stuff. And then its attack, Metal Sound, for 2 colorless. Discard all special energy attached to each Pokemon in play. So you just drop that to be like, alright, Eeveelow, bam, get rid of everything. All the double colorless, any rainbow energies against Plumebox, all the double dragons against Darkrai Giratina, whatever you want, just be like, it's all gone. That's a card I could definitely start seeing more of, like as a one of in different decks. So definitely something to look out for. Skarmory there. It's really cool artwork too. So yeah. Alright, now one of the big cards, Solgaleo GX. So first off, stage 2, 250 HP. So keep that in mind. Everything is super bulky. Alright, it's got the ability Ultra Road. Once during your turn, before you attack, you may switch your active Pokemon with one of your bench Pokemon. So it's super similar to Rush In or Stand In, except you don't actually like bring Solgaleo up to the active unless you're intentionally doing that. So definitely a really cool ability. Then it's got its attack, Sunsteel Strike, for 2 metal and a colorless. Does 230 damage. That is stupid. And you discard all energy from this Pokemon. 230 for 3 energy. It's dumb. And then even make matters worse, its GX attack for 1 metal. Soul Burst GX. Search your deck for up to 5 energy cards. Not basic energy, just 5 energy. So it could be 4 double colorless energy for all you want. And then attach them to your Pokemon in any way you want. Then shuffle your deck. That is ridiculous. That is just like, okay, drop the attack, set up my board, and just coast. I think, obviously being a stage 2 kind of sucks. But I think this is one of those cards that's going to be like game-changing moving forward. We're going to be seeing this everywhere. This is going to be the card. I really think so. Might take it a little bit to get away from the current format that we're in. But this is going to be like that set-defining card for Sun and Moon, at least in my opinion. So yeah, definitely some cool stuff there. Alright, so moving on, Cutiefly, it's kind of whatever. Rabombi, let's see, has the ability Healing Pollen. You can use this ability once during your turn, heal 20 damage from one of your Pokemon, which is kind of cool, not too bad. Kangaskhan, nothing overly exciting with the Kangaskhan. It's 130 HP for basics, that's pretty cool. Next up, we've got Eevee. So this is Energy Evolution Eevee. It's not an exact reprint. It's like a modernization of the old school Eevee. The ability is still the same. So you can use this ability once during your turn. When you attach a basic energy from your hand to this Pokemon, search your deck for a card that evolves from this Pokemon with the same type as the energy attached, and play it on top of this Pokemon to evolve it. Shuffle your deck afterwards. So, go turn 1, drop the Eevee, drop the Psychic Energy, Eevee becomes Espeon. Or drop the Dark Energy, Eevee becomes Umbreon, or Jolteon, or whatever. You can do that the very first turn of the game. Super cool stuff. And then it's got the attack, Quick Draw. For a colorless, flip a coin. If heads, draw a card. So yeah, definitely pretty cool stuff there. Spinda, it's kind of whatever. Lillipup, nothing exciting. Herdier, it's got the ability Treasure Hunt. You can use this ability once during your turn. When you play this card from your hand to evolve a Pokemon, choose one item card from your discard pile, show it to your opponent, and put it into your hand. So it's a not as good Milotic. Moving on. Young Goose is just whatever. And then we get Donald Trump GX. Gumshoes GX. Stage 1, 210 HP. It's got the ability Inspect, Once during your turn, before you attack, you may have your opponent reveal his or her hand. So that's pretty cool. Every turn, you can just look at the hand, see what they got getting ready for you. Next attack, Flying Headbutt, 3 colorless. It does 100 damage. Pretty basic stuff. And then it's got the ability, or the GX attack, Gum Chance, for 1 colorless. This attack does 50 more damage for each energy attached to your opponent's active Pokemon. That's a base of 10. So again, not necessarily a great GX attack, but in a pinch, it can finish it, take 2 prizes. So, cool stuff there. So, Stuffle, Beware, and then we get some reprints. Crushing Hammer, keep that garbage crap around. Timer Ball, this is a pretty cool one. So, flip 2 coins. For each head, search your deck for an evolution Pokemon, reveal it, and put it into your hand. And then Repel. Your opponent switches his or her Pokemon with one of his or her bench Pokemon. So it's like a one-sided escape rope or gust. Rotom Pokedex. Count your remaining prize cards, then shuffle them into your deck. Draw the same amount of cards and place them face down as your new prize card. We're also getting a reprint of EXP Share. And then on to some supporters. We got Illuma, I don't know how you say that. Each player shuffles his or her hand into his or her deck. Then each player flips a coin. If head, that player draws 6 cards. If tails, that player draws 3 cards. It's a cool concept. I don't know how much it'll be used. Obviously, in is better. So, then we have Professor Kukui. So it's a supporter. Draw 2 cards. Then during your turn, your Pokemon's attacks do 20 more damage to your opponent's active Pokemon before applying weakness and resistance. So basically, it's Giovanni's scheme, except both options in one. Kind of. So that's pretty cool. We're also getting another double colorless energy reprint. And then these are the alternate arts for like Lapras and that kind of stuff. So moving on. Also, we're getting a full art Secret Rare Ultra Ball because reasons. Alright, so on to the next group of stuff. Oh, and Secret Rare Metal Energy. because, yeah. Alright, so moving on. So now we have Pinsir. Pinsir is going to be super annoying. So it's a 110 HP basic, kind of whatever. It's got the attack Sky Throw for 2 colorless. Flip a coin. If heads, return your opponent's active Pokemon and all cards attached to it to your opponent's hand. So a couple things can happen with this. A, you flip the coin and nothing happens. So we're all good. B, you flip the coin. Your opponent has 1 Pokemon on the field. You win the game because you get the heads. Super annoying. And then the other thing is your opponent spends all this time setting up this big stage 2 with energy and yada 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 yada. You Sky Throw, flip the coin, say YOLO, get the heads, and you make them restart that whole setting up process. Kind of annoying. I could definitely start seeing this as a one of in decks that already use double colorless energy. So just be prepared for the annoying things as Pinsir. So, moving along. Search Kit. It's whatever. Masquerain. Again, it's kind of whatever. It's got the Slowking ability as an attack. So, it's kind of cool. Grubbin. It's whatever. Fomantis. On top of having a really cool name. Its attack is not awful. Synthesis for 1 colorless. Search your deck for a grass energy card and attach it to one of your Pokemon. Shuffle your deck. But the really good thing about Fomantis is it evolves into Lornitis GX. So 210 HP. Stage 1. First attack, Flower Supply for 1 grass. It does 40 damage. And attach 2 basic energy cards from your discard pile to your Pokemon in any way you like. That, again, is just dumb. Especially because it's grass. So you have Force the Giant Plant. You can get this out on turn 1. 210 Pokemon that's accelerating energy like crazy. A lot of the hype right now for this has been in like Vileplume decks. So prepare to see item luck and energy acceleration. Because, why not, right? And then its second attack, Solar Blade. It's not as good, but 2 grass and a colorless. Does 120 damage, and you heal 30 damage from this Pokemon. So 2-shot everything, and heal a bit of damage. And then finally, it's got its GX attack for 1 grass energy, Chloro size. Does 50 times damage, and this attack does 50 damage times the number of grass energy attached to this Pokemon. So again, altogether, this card is great. The GX attack is kind of lackluster, but with these other 2 attacks, it doesn't even matter. Who cares? Flower Supply is just great, especially because it's grass, because it gets forest. So prepare for the grass decks. Moving on, Morlull, who cares? And then Shiinotic, the other creepy alien-looking mushroom Pokemon fairy thing. So it's got the ability Luminescence. You can use this ability once during your turn. Search your deck for a grass Pokemon, show it to your opponent, and put it into your hand. Because grass needs more cool stuff. Again, this is stage 1, and it's grass, so Force the Giant Plants. Turn 1. Oh, I need a Gloom, because I got a Vileplume in my hand. But I got Shiinotic. Oh, guess now I've got Vileplume luck. Have fun. So yeah, we're just gonna skip past that then. Poliwags, whatever. Poliwhirl. This is again, whatever. And then here's the biggest troll card of the whole set. Poliwrath. Assuming this translation is correct, its first attack, Quaking Punch. For 1 water. Does 30 damage. Sounds familiar, right? Except the rest of it says your opponent's Pokemon is now confused. So, it's not that Quaking Punch. Remember all that reprint everyone wanted of Quaking Punch? We got it. Kind of. So, moving along. Corsola. Whatever. Wingull. Okay. Pelipper. It's no biggie. Crabominable. Bruxish. Nothing crazy there. Chinchou, it's whatever. Lanterns, whatever. Charge-a-Bug, it's okay. And then Vikavolt. Pretty cool looking card though. So 150 HP, stage 2. Its ability, Strong Charge. Once during your turn, before you attack, you may search your deck for a grass energy and a lightning energy and attach them to your Pokemon in any way you like. Shuffle your deck afterwards. Kind of the cool thing, so Grubbin is grass, and Charge-a-Bug is lightning. So you can go turn 1, Grubbin, force giant plants, then evolve into Charge-a-Bug, then on turn 2, evolve into Vikavolt. Go along your way. So not quite as streamlined as the rest of the grass Pokemon, but still not too bad. That's a pretty good ability. Obviously, it'd be better if it was just like 2 grass or 2 lightning or any kind of combination of, but that's still workable. So yeah. And then its attack, Electro Cannon, a lightning and 3 colorless, does 150 damage. Discard 3 energy, attach to this Pokemon. So it's whatever. Togedemaru, just kind of, again, meh. Alolan Grimer. It's got the benefit of being an Alolan Pokemon, so its first attack costs nothing. That's pretty cool. And then we've got Alolan Muck. Another super interesting card in the set. So it's 120 HP. Stage 1. Its ability, Power of Alchemy. As long as this Pokemon is in play, each player's basic Pokemon in play in their hand and in their discard pile have no abilities. So it's like half of a Garbodor. So basically you go turn 1 Grimer, continuing on turn 1, drop your Shamans, all that other good stuff, then go Wally, Alolan Muck, and pass. Then your opponent can't play Shamans, can't play Hoopas, all that cool stuff. Obviously, this will be in a good amount of decks. Would not be at all surprised to see this in Greninja to kind of help counter Volcanion. It's kind of a ha 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 ha. I can still use my abilities, but you can't. So we'll see. But it's definitely cool. And kind of the irony is, with Garbodor, you need Floatstone, or any tool really, but Floatstone's obviously the tool to use for Garbodor to become to use its ability. Whereas this one, you don't need a tool. But then you look, and it has a 4 retreat cost, so for all intents and purposes, you're going to be putting a Floatstone on this bad boy as soon as you can anyway, so it's kind of funny. So anyway, moving on. Drowsy's kind of whatever. Hypno, same thing. Cosmog and Cosmian, we've already looked at. Then we get the other end of this coin, Lunala GX. So it's interesting to note, Solgaleo GX and Lunala GX both evolve from Cosmog and Cosmion. So you could get kind of crazy and run some dual Psychic Steel deck that runs both of these guys. And depending on what you need, depending on who you evolve to and all that cool stuff. But, so moving on. It's got the ability Psychic Transfer. As often as you like during your turn, before you attack, you may move a Psychic Energy from one of your Pokemon to another of your Pokemon. Really cool stuff there. So it's the Aromatisse transfer ability, except for Psychic Energy. It's also worked for Rainbow Energy, of course, and Double Dragon Energy, of course. So cool stuff. Be interesting to see where this goes. There's not a lot of super strong Psychic typing Pokemon other than Mewtwo. So we'll see if people can come up with some stuff with this guy in Mewtwo. It's got the attack Phantom Ray for 4 Psychic. Does 120 damage. And the defending Pokemon can't be healed during your opponent's next turn. It's definitely interesting. Healing, while it is an aspect of the game currently, it's not like this major, huge thing. So it kind of tells me that they might be projecting that be the way the game goes. I've had a lot of conversations with people about once a lot of this XY stuff rotates, how the format will be. Potentially, obviously, this is all conjecture. But looking at, big, bulky Pokemon with high energy costs and things like that, whereas, like, max potions and things like that, it could be a big, integral part of the game, like, especially having to evolve up into stage 2s. So having an attack like this that prevents them from healing is definitely interesting. It's a little expensive, so at least early, I don't imagine it being used super often, but it's something to keep in your back pocket and remember down the road. So, and then it's got the GX attack, Lunar Fall, for 3 Psychic. Knock out one of your opponent's basic Pokemon that isn't a GX. That's dumb. Be like, alright, you got that big old Yveltal over there with 7 energy ready to go, big old bad boy. Just Lunar Fall, just knock it out, get that out of here. Take my 2 prizes. It's definitely one, it's interesting. Obviously, it's more viable right now that EXs are still big and a thing. As we go further down the road, conversely to its attack, this one won't be as prevalent because EXs won't be a thing as much in the future, theoretically. So, again, super interesting Pokemon in Lunala. Initially, I don't think it'll be as good, but in the future, I could definitely see things with it. So, cool stuff. Roggenrola, whatever. Boldor, whatever. Gigalith. Rock Cannon is kind of cool. For fighting in a colorless, it is 50 times damage. You may discard any number of fighting energy attached to your Pokemon in play. This attack does 50 damage times the number of cards discarded. So that's kind of cool. Crab Brawler, whatever. Sandygast, okay. Palossand, the Sand Castle. It's got the ability Sand Armor. Any damage done to this Pokemon by attacks is reduced by 20. So it's basically a Shining Body from Raikou, except to stage 1. And you don't need the energy attached to it. So, Alolan Rattata, free attack. And then Alolan Raticate, which is definitely interesting. So its first attack, Dark Design for 2 colorless. Search your deck for a number of cards up to the number of Pokemon on your bench and add them to your hand. Shuffle your deck. So it's basically like Arrow Blitz from Talonflame, except much bigger variety. Like, if you have a full bench of 5, go get 5 cards from your deck and put them into your hand. If you have Skyfield and you have a full bench of 8, go get half your deck and put it in your hand. And hope the other guy doesn't have it in. So, cool stuff though. Definitely could start seeing that pop up more often. Then next up, Umbreon GX, another one of my favorite cards from this set. So 200 HP, stage 1. But remember, we got the Eevee, so you attach Dark Energy, your Umbreon on turn 1. Its first attack, Strafe, for 1 dark, does 30 damage, and you may switch this Pokemon with one of your bench Pokemon. Pretty cool stuff. The Dawn Fan attack. And then Shadow Bullet, for a dark and 2 colorless. I mean, it's, Night Spear from Darkrai. So it does 90 damage, and this attack does 30 damage to one of your opponent's bench Pokemon. That's awesome. Really cool stuff. You can already kind of see some synergy with this Umbreon and then the Espeon GX. You've got Umbreon up in the active, Shadow Bulleting, like spreading out damage across the bench. Then you bring in Espeon and you do its GX attack and just put out 10 damage counters and just pick off everything that was set up by Umbreon. Pretty cool stuff. And then its GX attack, Nightcry for a dark and a colorless. Discard 2 energy cards attached to your Pokemon or opponent's Pokemon in play. Again, it doesn't sound like, oh my goodness. But if you know you're set up to win the following turn or something like that, you can drop Nightcry and set your opponent back where they can't recover, so you make sure you get that win on next turn. So I can see the utility in it. It's pretty cool. Probably not going to be used super often compared to other GX attacks, but if you're only running Umbreon GX, it's not bad. Alright, then Carvanha, So whatever. Sharpedo is kind of cool. It's got Rough Skin. If this Pokemon is your active Pokemon and is damaged by an opponent's Pokemon's attack, place 3 damage counters on the attacking Pokemon. So pretty cool. And then Aqua Impact for a Dark and 2 colorless. Does 60 damage, and this attack does 60 damage plus 20 damage times the number of energy in the Pokemon's retreat cost. So effectively, you have to look at probably only going to be doing like maybe 120 damage. Most Pokemon don't have more than like a 2 retreat. At the most, you're going to be doing 140. So for 3, it's not amazing, but it's a thing. We got Snubbull, Granbull, Dratini. So here we're getting into some other cool stuff. So 60 HP basic for 1 grass, Signs of Evolution. Search your deck for 1 each of Dratini, Dragonair, and Dragonite, and put them into your hand. Shuffle your deck afterwards. Really cool stuff. Then you move on to Dragonair, 90 HP stage 1. For 1 colorless, Dragon Prayer. During your next turn, you may attach as many energy as you like from your hand to your Pokemon. That's really cool. Especially if you could ever live the dream, go from Dratini, Dragonair, to Dragonite, and load up a bunch of energy. So moving on to Dragonite. 160 HP, stage 2. For a grass and a lightning, Dragon Wave does 130 damage, and you discard a grass and a lightning energy attached to this Pokemon. So obviously, right off the bat, you see some type of synergy with this and Vikavolt, which searches for that energy specifically, grass and a lightning. So 130 damage for 2, and then every turn you can continually start doing that. It's kind of cool. Obviously, again, not necessarily right now. We're still in a Garbodor world, but looking into the future. And then you've got his other attack, Giant Tail, for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 colorless. Does 200 damage. Sounds really cool, right? But you have to flip a coin. If Tails, this attack does nothing. Do not ever use Giant Tail unless the game is on the line and you got no better choice. So yeah. Moving forward, Sparrow, whatever. Pharaoh. The first attack is kind of cool. Devastating Wind. The opponent shuffles his or her hand and his or her deck. Then he or she draws 3 cards from his or her deck. So it could be annoying. So like, you stick them or something like, or you into a big hand, you in them in a big hand, and then you make them shuffle it all back in, or they arrow blitz or something. That'd be kind of cool. It's annoying. I don't think it'll ever be used, but it's kind of cool. Next up, we've got Tauros. Maybe my favorite card from this set. So Tauros GX. 180 HP basic. It's got 3 attacks. And they all cost double colorless. So first up is Rage. Does 20 plus damage. This attack does 20 damage plus 10 more damage for each damage counters on this Pokemon. It's Outrage on 180 HP basic Pokemon. With a Fighting Fury belt, 220 HP. So that's really cool. Then Horn Attack does 60 damage. And then its GX attack, Mad Bull, 30 times damage. And this attack does 30 damage times the number of damage counters on this Pokemon. So this card has so many uses. Initially, right off the bat, I look at it, say, oh, this is splashable. I can throw this in Eevee. I already run double colors energy. Hooray. I can throw this in a lot of different decks. Plume Box, Pidgeot, any kind of combination of those things. Then I look at it and I go, Ninja Boy, oh, you just did a ton of damage to me. Ninja Boy, Tauros GX, Rage. Or even better, Ninja Boy, Tauros GX, Mad Bull, Knockout. Take the game. Really cool stuff there. So I love this card. Love this card. I think this is going to be around everywhere. So definitely look forward to Tauros, because I think it's going to be everywhere. Moving on. Energy Evolution Eevee, we've already seen that. Pekka-Pek, whatever. Trumbeak, whatever. Oranguru. It's Harambe. But, Oranguru, 120 HP basic. It's got the cool ability Lead. You can use this ability once during your turn. Draw cards from your deck until you have 3 cards in your hand. So, it's kind of like Octillery, except it's a stage 1, or it's a basic, as opposed to stage 1. So it keeps you in proof. A lot of versatility with Oranguru. I think it's a pretty good. Its attack is not horrible. 3 colorless. It does 60 damage, and this attack does 60 damage plus 20 damage times the number of energy attached to your opponent's active Pokemon. So in a pinch, it's not horrible, but it's 120 HP basic that just sits on your bench and keeps you from being delinquented down to nothing or in down to 1. So pretty cool stuff. We're also getting a reprint of Energy Retrieval. We got a new card, Big Malsada. Heal 20 damage and 1 special to condition from your active Pokemon. Basic stuff, whatever, man. Nest Ball. Search your deck for a basic Pokemon and put it onto your bench. This card is awesome. Obviously, you're never going to use it to get a Shaman or something like that, but in the Passimian deck, you'll be seeing a ton of these. So yeah. We're also getting a Switch. Not going to lie, it's kind of a cool artwork. I didn't look at the Energy Retrieval artwork. That's basic Energy Retrieval. Then we're getting Poison Barb. It's a tool. Attach a Pokemon, or when the Pokemon this card is attached to is your active Pokemon and is damaged by an opponent's Pokemon's attack, the attacking Pokemon is now poisoned. It's cool, but I don't think we'll see very much of it. Team Skull Grunt. This is going to be a really annoying card. Okay, your opponent reveals his or her hand. You may discard 2 energy cards you find there. Not just basic, just 2 energy cards. So you'd be like, alright, turn 1, Team Skull Grunt. Let me see that hand. Oh, you're about to set up? Get rid of that garbage. 2 double colorless energies. Or something dumb. Pair that up with like Eradicate and a Houndoom. Oh, it's dumb. Alright, moving on. So we got Lily, and she looks pissed. Draw cards from your deck until you have 6 cards in your hand. If you use this card on your first turn, draw cards until you have 8 cards in your hand. It's kind of cool. You might be able to see like one of it in some decks. I don't know if you'll see it super often though. We're also getting a Rainbow Energy reprint. Pretty cool. And these are just alternate arts, or the hyper rare arts for all the stuff in the set. Got some more cards down here. We're also getting a secret rare Psychic Energy. It looks really cool. Alright, so now we got Rowlet. It's kind of basic stuff here with the Rowlet and the Dartrix. Then we got Decidueye. Really cool artwork, by the way. Like, really cool artwork. So it has Feather Arrow. You can use this power once during your turn. Choose one of your opponent's Pokemon and place 2 damage counters on it. So every turn you can snipe for 2. Oh, and by the way, it's grass. 240 HP. You know. Force the giant plants. Whatever. Got the other attack, Razor Leaf. Not super usable. I don't think a grass and 2 colorless. Does 90 damage. It's kind of whatever. And then its GX attack, Hollow Hunt. Put 3 cards from your discard pile into your hand. It's cool, but it's not one of the better GX attacks. You're using Decidueye for the ability. Moving on, Grubbin, Growlithe, Torkoal, Litten. Okay, so Litten, Torracat, and then Incineroar. So 250, stage 2 fire type. First attack, Hustle Blow for 1 fire, does 10 damage, and it does 20 more damage for each fire Pokemon on your bench. So that's pretty cool. For 1 energy, you could do like 110 damage, or math is failing me, like 160. So not too bad. And then Tiger Swing for 2 fire and a colorless, 80 plus damage. Flip 2 coins. Attack does 50 more damage for each head. It's pretty cool. And then Burn Slam GX for 2 fire and a colorless, does 200 damage, and your opponent's active Pokemon is now burned. Again, nothing spectacular there in terms of GX attacks. You'll probably only be using Incineroar for that first attack if you're already running a heavy fire deck. So, We get Poplio, Brion, and Primarina. Cool artwork. 250 HP. Stage 2. First attack, Bubble Beat. For 2 colorless, 10 plus damage. The stack does 10 damage plus 20 damage times the amount of water energy attached to all of your Pokemon in play. So it is Dark Pulse, basically, except does a little bit less damage. 10 less damage. And then Ocean Sound for 3 water and a colorless, 120 damage. Discard an energy card attached to your opponent's active Pokemon. It's okay. It's really expensive, though. Basically, you're going to be using Primarina for Bubble Beat. And then its GX attack, 2 colorless, Grand Echo. Heal all damage from each of your Pokemon. So this one is pretty cool. If you ever get in a pinch, like, you can swing the game. Just be like, bring up Primarina, Grand Echo, save your game right there. So that's pretty cool. I like that one. Moving on. I think we've seen all the cards in the set as of this point. Yep. I think that is... Oh, Rare Candy we're getting a reprint of. We're getting a reprint of Great Ball. Potion. Energy Switch. Kind of the basic stuff. Switch, obviously. Pokemon Catcher. Pokeball. How? Which is T or no. Draw 3 cards. Whatever. And then Secret Rare. No, that's just regular. That's what the energy will look like. And then these are some promos. There's nothing, like, overly exciting here. Yeah. So, yeah. That is Pokemon Sun and Moon. Pretty cool stuff. Like I said, right off the top, cards that I'm really excited for. Tauros GX, Lapras GX, Passimian, Solgaleo GX. Cool stuff like that. All really good stuff. I think... Oh, an Umbreon. Like the Umbreon. So I think just moving forward, this set's going to be really fun. Like, hopefully it'll get more people invested and back to being interested in the game. I know there's been a little bit of a back and forth. Just kind of how the standard format's been for the last couple seasons. Just kind of stale, I guess. I'm relatively new, so I don't have a lot of complaints. I'm just happy to be here. But yeah, all looks fun. So let me know what y'all think down below about Sun and Moon, what cards y'all are excited for, and all that cool stuff. And I will see y'all next time.